The youth initiative of the Global Aerospace Summit NextGen plays an important role. It provides a platform where young people take the stage and share their voices. If you are looking for ways to make a difference and make a meaningful contribution to achieving a more sustainable world, join us in the next session moderated by Ms. Marushka Strah, Executive Director, World Space Week Association.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's really interesting panel on how can space industry contribute to a more sustainable world. My name is Marushka Strah, and I am currently serving as the Executive Director of the World Space Week Association. The question of how we can contribute to a better world and the achievement of sustainable development goals is especially important to us as we strive to contribute to SDGs through our work, using World Space Week as a focus and platform for exchange of ideas and for bringing better understanding of space to people. The panelists are all inspiring leaders and representatives of the next generation, and they will share their thoughts and actions on how their organizations contribute to the achievements, as well as what we can do as individuals for the betterment of society. For all of those who joined us today, please don't hesitate to use the opportunity to ask questions and get in touch with all of us, and we will do our best to answer them. I will be joined today by 4 panelists. Hamda Al-Shehi, a space technology senior researcher at the Space Missions Department of the UAE Space Agency. Her role is focused on providing support and performing scientific research and the investigation and application of space science to agency missions and projects. She's supporting space-related research and development projects that aid the advancement of space science and technology in the UAE. Niklas, he served as the regional coordinator for the Asia Pacific at Space Generation Advisory Council between 2015 and 2019. He worked at the Dubai Future Foundation and the executive office of Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid as a strategic consultant. Niklas went back to China in 2018 and joined ComSat as the chief strategist. He now leads the Department of Government Affairs at ComSat. Jose Gonzalez is a research engineer at Khalifa University of Science and Technology, where he manages the operation of the SBRC Seas Pilot Facility, an integrated system of aquaculture, halophyte agriculture, and agroforestry that produces seafood, oilseeds for conversion into aviation biofuel, and carbon sequestration. And Davide Petrillo, who is currently serving as the executive director of SGAC. His professional experience brought him to London as a business manager for Alten Ltd, and previously in Italy as a business analyst for Accenture Global Management Consulting Company. Previously, he was the team leader of FELS, the experiment selected by the European Space Agency for the Drop Your Thesis 2014 program. I would now like to bring attention to all the panelists and continue with our discussion on how we can all contribute to a more sustainable world. Please, Hamda, if we can start with you. I would like to know, how does the UAE space sector contribute to SDGs?
Thank you, Marushka. I would like to thank you first for inviting us to participate in this panel discussion, and I would be happy to talk about sustainability from my perspective as a space technology senior researcher at the UAE Space Agency. So when it comes to sustainability, it's worth mentioning that it's something that got a great emphasis during the lifetime of the late Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan, the founder of the UAE, as well as the space. So the leadership of the UAE long realized the importance of space sector, and that's why they started investments in it in the late 90s as part of the UAE's effort in diversifying the economy from hydrocarbon-based economy to a knowledge-based economy. And as a result of that, we had mobile communication satellite company, that is Thuraya Sat, and a few years later, Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center and Yahsat were established, in which Yahsat is focused on communication satellites as well as some military applications, whereas Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center is focused on satellite development programs and R&D activities. And then at the year 2014, which marked a milestone in the UAE space sector with the establishment of the UAE Space Agency, which is a federal government entities that was established to coordinate the space sector and bring it together under one umbrella by developing regulatory framework, developing space policy and strategy that aim at developing the human capital in the field of space science and technology, as well as enabling and supporting R&D in this field. So today, the UAE has a strong and diverse space sector that is an active contributor to the Sustainable Development Goals and in alignment with the national efforts towards Sustainable Development Goals. The National Space Strategy of the UAE has been reviewed to ensure its alignment to the Sustainable Development Goals, as well as the long-term sustainable guidelines and the Space 23 agenda.
Thank you so much for this inputs. We will definitely revisit this later on in our discussion, because we are all aware of all the activities that UAE is conducting to contribute to SDGs. I would like to ask you, Niklas, if you can, as an expert on startups from China, if you can share with us the efforts that ComSat is dedicating to solving real-life challenges.
Yep. Hi everyone, my name is Niklas, or you can call me Zihua from China. Currently I'm working at ComSat. Thank you for the question, Maruska. And as the majority of the community may know, that China opens for commercial space in 2015, and ComSat was one of them. That's established in 2015 as one of the first batch of commercial space companies in China. To sum up, there are two real-life challenges ComSat is solving here. First, global space connectivity through satellites. Second is preparing the next generation space talents. So ComSat, here we have a vision that access to space for everyone, not just mean like transporting human beings to space, but also means bring space, the benefits of space down to the Earth and the benefits to the global community. So we divide our operation into two major business segments and one spin-off business subsidiaries. So the two major business segments include a small satellites manufacturer for constellation and industrial solutions for satellite internet. This builds a foundation for the infrastructure of satellite internet, which by the way, ComSat already has 8 satellites in orbit to demonstrate technology and verification. With the support of our own constellation, ComSat also looks into turnkey solutions to provide communication services to areas which lacks connectivity. This includes rural areas, airborne, maritime, mountains, deserts, and forests, etc. This is in line with the United Nations Sustainable Goals, as there are still 3 billion people and over 50% of the surface on the Earth that have no communication connectivity. From our perspective, we believe providing the connectivity is only one facet. Another big one is bequeath the next generation necessary tools and methodology to develop their own tools to shape the world and continue such sustainable working mechanisms. This is why we foster a subsidiary that focuses on space STEM education. This subsidiary takes advantage of our satellites and space technologies and in-orbit resources to train the young people with essential skills and knowledge to understand how space works and how spacecraft work and what benefits they can bring to the Earthlings. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Niklas, for all the work that you're doing in this regard, especially for the next generation. Jose, I'm wondering, is the space industry and the aerospace industry doing enough? Are we working towards a more sustainable world, and how? And how do you see technology and its applications solving real-life problems, and how are the Sustainable Development Goals addressed in the space industry?
Hi, Marushka. Thank you for the question. So the aerospace industry is certainly pursuing a a more sustainable way of doing things. And this is clearly reflected in the carbon offset and reduction scheme from the international aviation, which was set by ICAO, and many of the countries have voluntarily, some of them committed to it. So this, the CORSIA has set three key pillars to address sustainability, particularly in the reduction of emissions. For example, they have identified improvement in operations of the aircraft is one key aspect. Another one is the deployment of sustainable aviation fuel, and another one is improvement in technology. Now, just to give you an example from my field, which is the deployment of sustainable aviation fuel. So when you have a feedstock and then you find a way to convert it into jet fuel, it has to go a certain certification pathway. And just as general information, there are now 7 pathways for biofuel, for sustainable aviation fuel conversion approved now. And this has happened in the last 10 years. And there are at least 4 more on the pipeline. So this clearly sets the tone that the aviation is clearly seeking to look a greener future.
Thank you for this answer. This is it's good to know that the industry is doing so much already, and of course there's still room for improvement, and I hope we will address this further on in this panel. I would like to go back to you, Niklas, for a moment. You mentioned a lot of work that you're doing for the next generation, and you mentioned STEM education as a part of your business model. Can you tell us more about it? What activities are you conducting, and how do you see STEM education in the future?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mariska. So at ComSat, the STEM education operation of our company has mainly 3 components. The first one is space-themed education package, on-campus lab, and a space center. I will introduce them one by one. The space-themed education package is rather straightforward. ComSat developed its own curriculums and textbooks, spacecraft kit for students to assemble, and organize challenges for students to develop innovative solutions to tackle with. The Space Lab is more like a miniature of real-life TT&C center that we deploy on the campus that have basic capability and functions for students to connect to our satellites in orbit. This gives students unparalleled experiences to actually have the opportunity to operate and communicate with real-life satellites. The Space Center is more like a space-themed Disneyland that we partner with the local governments to cooperate. Right now, we have 3 in operation in China, 2 space centers in construction. Normally, we provide the content and the facilities. The objective of the space centers is to inspire the young generation, and by providing them with immersive experiences like astronaut training, lunar landing, Mars and deep space exploration, etc., to allow the students having an immersive experience of how astronauts or how spacecraft work in outer space. As you can see, we basically cover both outside and inside of the school to offer students an unmatched platform to access space knowledge and training. This will eventually inspire and prepare them for further pursuit in their education or in their career later in their life. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this answer. It sounds like you have a hands-on approach, and I definitely am happy to see that so many young people are involved in shaping the industry. Speaking of youth, Davide, can you tell us more about what you believe should be developed to enable youth to participate more and to be engaged in development of SDGs?
Definitely. Thank you, Marushka. And of course, thank you for the invitation today. My name is David, and it's a pleasure for me to represent SGSC today within this panel. And again, thank you very much for the question, Marushka, and for coordinating this panel. So that's definitely a great question. And I think that definitely space, is the key to the success to reach the Sustainable Development Goals, but not only. So to this end, in order to extend and, make this required change within the SDGs, the next generation must make space happen. So, for example, in order to promote the engagement of the youth in the global Sustainable Development Goals organization, not only, we should not only extend our network within space, but also to non-space related activities, also businesses related to non-space activities, because in this way, we can strengthen the promotion of the SDGs through different activities, partnerships, but also, challenges and competitions that different organizations are doing, like, for example, SGC, but also, for example, the World Space Week. Right? So opportunity to provide the improvement of the Sustainable Development Goals within these opportunities that I mentioned before. Not only, I really think that in order to strengthen the promotion of the SDGs, in order to enable the youth to participate in the development of the Sustainable Development Goals, we should support the implementation of a simplified language outreach for primary and secondary education level, in order, again, to start also from there, understand the SDG value change, and again, strengthen the promotion of the Sustainable Development Goals.
Thank you so much, Davide. I have to say that World Space Week Association and SGSC have a long standing relationship of collaboration and partnership, and we're always excited to work with you, and I hope we will do this in the future. And of course, we are happy to explore further how we can do more and better for the next generation, and how we can empower everyone participating in this industry. Speaking of development and research and empowerment, Hamda, could you tell us more about the efforts in the UAE Space Agency is doing to promote space science, research and development to contribution to sustainability? And I would really appreciate it if you could elaborate on the value of Earth observation satellites that you mentioned before, and what Earth observation is contributing to the sustainability.
This is an interesting question, actually, and I would like here to highlight some examples of the national developments in the space field that could actually be looked at as indicators for contributions to sustainable development goals. But first, I would like to address the important role that the UAE Space Agency is playing towards promoting scientific research by supporting and direct investments of R&D in collaboration with the academic institutions and space centers in the UAE. And as an implementation step towards that, the Space Missions Directorate at the UAE Space Agency launched the Science, Technology and Innovation Roadmap, which aims at identifying priority areas of research and guiding the R&D efforts in the UAE, because we believe on the important role of technology to solve daily life problems as well as addressing sustainable development goals. So some examples of these initiatives that I took part in and I involved in is one of the initiatives that is focused on microgravity science and research. That is called Test in Orbit, which is basically a contest for university students to encourage them to submit proposals and ideas about experiments, scientific experiments that they would like to launch to the International Space Station, study it in microgravity and analyze the results, mainly in two fields, which are physical and life sciences, as well as energy in space. So by this, with the scientific findings we come out of this initiative, we are actually understanding some technologies that is related to health and energy, and that will help us to develop many of the applications on Earth. when it comes to health and energy. And this is basically directly correlated to sustainability. Speaking of Earth observation programs, we are actually, we all know that there is a direct value of Earth observation towards sustainability, and the data we get out of the Earth observation satellites can play a very important role in addressing many problems when it comes to climate change, to disaster management, as well as resources management. So one examples of that is the A23 hyperspectral mission, which is one of the initiatives under the Arab Space Cooperation Group. It is basically a hyperspectral satellite that will carry on board the spacecraft and a unique hyperspectral instrument. It will be developed by Arab engineers at the National Space Science and Technology Center in Al Ain in the UAE. So the capacity and the unique capabilities of the instrument will allow for many scientific applications that support environment and climate challenges. For example, it will lead to assessing crop conditions, studying vegetation, identifying and detection of mining sites, and that will allow for, of course, an optimized agriculture as well as better resources management, which is basically very important for sustainability. So to answer your questions, the above mentioned components are all directly and indirectly supporting sustainable development goals.
Thank you so much for this answer. I do believe that the space industry and agencies and also individuals are visionaries, and they do a lot to achieve sustainable development goals and to better the society, better the humanity. I am wondering, Niklas, if you could tell us what, from your perspective, are the current gaps that lie between the vision and the actions that lie between one and the other, and are standing in the way to achieve the SDGs through space technologies?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Mariska, for the question. To answer that, from both a global perspective and a company's perspective, I would say there's still room for us to increase the space awareness for the general public. There's sort of a controversial opinion on this, is that as long as we make people think space is cool, those people who work in the space industry is cool, we have the general public's attention and the mission is accomplished. This only represents partial of the quest to allow the majority of the population to understand space and engage in space activities. Around the world, we already have many nonprofit organizations that commit to this quest, like World Space Week, Space Generation Advisory Council, International Space University, and Mars Society, etc. We are making progress. However, we kind of are trapping in a loop. We rely on gaining traction from those who already show interest or who are already having enthusiasm for space instead of to the majority of the community. From a company's perspective, ComSat is already working on this at the moment. Instead of pushing like tertiary students or young professionals or those who are already working in the space industry on a faster track to pursue their education or career, we focus on a group of younger age. In addition to inspiring them with the current or past space activities, we also providing the tool and platform to allow them to immerse themselves in an environment where they can learn the multidisciplinary skills and knowledge that actually can apply to tackle challenges on the Earth with space technology. This further lowered the bar for the community to enter the space sector and promote space awareness on a larger scale. So we identified the gap. The route is to bridge it, and what we left is to further put it into more practice. The approach we developed in China should not limit itself here in the mainland of China. All the discussion we have today on this cloud should not constrain itself on only within the space community. There is a broader community and a bigger population and potential waiting for us to tap into. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this. I would like to ask you, Davide, if since we are the next generation panel, if you could share with us what are the visions and aspirations of the next generation with regards to the 2030 agenda? How can organizations like SGSC, like World Space Week Association, and others that were mentioned today help promote engagement and leadership of the youth when it comes to achievement of global SDGs?
Definitely, that's a really valid question, Marushka. Thank you for asking. And of course, it's a matter of the vision and aspiration of the youth in supporting the Sustainable Development Goals are also linked also to the opportunities that organizations like SJC or the World Space Week, or also the opportunities that we were discussing all together here with the different experts in this panel, can provide to the young people to expand and to really share their voice in the support of the Sustainable Development Goals. For example, starting from SJC is supporting our members through different opportunities to tackle the SDGs with online and offline activities, especially right now during the current global development that the world is facing. For example, our members are hosting challenges, are hosting hackathons as well to solve local issues involving the Sustainable Development Goals. And those online activities help to build the local curriculum to educate how can space tackle the SDGs and then draw the global public attention to solve those challenges. For example, some specific things that we have done, competitions, challenges that we've done during this year are the so-called Space for Youth competition in partnership with the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs. This is a competition that aims at elevating the voice of the young people at an international level and show how the young people can contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. For example, this year, the competition was focused on SDG number 13, so climate change. And we received more than 200 essays from all over the world in which we heard ideas on how the youth want really to change the global problem of the climate change. So this was, for example, a competition we did, but we did also other activities. Like, for example, we have a team called Our Giant Leap. It's a team that is an initiative, honestly, of SGSC dedicated to women in aerospace. So focused on gender equity, like what is the goal of this team is to make the aerospace sector more inclusive, to find solution to existing, overlooked challenges that the women in aerospace face in the aerospace sector. And by achieving this goal, they want to inspire the young women to join the industry and promote careers in STEM. So there are activities, but it's also up to us to give them the opportunities to really expand and show their voice again in the space field through the next generation.
Thank you so much for this answer. And of course, as a woman, I really appreciate all the work that you're doing here. And I would like to mention at this point that, as you know, World Space Week Association decides every year at the beginning on the theme that is going to be dedicated to World Space Week every year. And this year, we are very happy to celebrate satellites and the broad benefits they bring to humanity. However, 2021 is going to be dedicated to women in space. We do believe that this is a very important theme, and we're looking forward to working with you on this, and Giant Leap, of course. When it comes to future and 2030 agenda, that is absolutely important. I'm wondering, Hamda, if you can tell us more about what your national space strategy is and how does it align with the 2030 agenda?
This is an interesting question, and I would like to answer it by highlighting how these factors have been taken into account in our national space strategy. So in line with the national efforts towards contribution to sustainable development goals, the national space strategy has been reviewed to ensure its alignment with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the long-term sustainability guidelines, as well as the 4 pillars of the Space 23 agenda that are space economy, space society, diplomacy, and space accessibility. So under each pillar, there are implementation areas and actions that have been reflected in the National Space Strategy. For example, one of these initiatives is about promoting and supporting space services and applications that contribute to achieving sustainable development goals by coordinating with the space services providers for Earth observation, communication in the fields of climate change, natural management, as well as coordination with the R&D centers for development of specialized applications on this matter.
Thank you very much for this answer. We've been talking a lot about how different organizations contribute to achievement of SDGs, how the industry as a whole is contributing to SDGs. My last question goes to you, Jose. If you could share with us what your thoughts are on how individuals can contribute to achievements of SDGs. For all of those who want to be a part of something big, but are not yet members of these organizations, and we certainly invite them to become more involved, do you have some pointers? What can we do as individuals?
Sure. So I would say, as you said, for individuals, it starts with simple things, right? So I guess the starting point will be to reach out to your local communities. So what's out there to see in terms of in aviation, if there is some community that is fostering the SDGs. I can tell you about the sustainable development goals that we are trying to pursue with our project. So for example, it has to do with SDG 12 and 13, which is responsible consumption and production. And this is one clear example. So it's not only about the aviation industry and the companies, also individuals have to be responsible in consuming and producing. But going a little bit more into the aviation, well, airlines can now produce aircraft and they can retire. They can withdraw all their aircraft, less efficient aircraft, and replace them with far more efficient aircraft. They can make them as light as possible, and then they can also use sustainable aviation fuel, which can emit far less carbon than conventional jet fuel. So yeah, and this will also tackle SDG number 13, which has to do with climate action, which I guess in a way, most of the SDGs go hand in hand.
Thank you so much. I do agree with you. Most of the SDGs are interconnected and they cannot be one without the other. Absolutely not. I do have a question for all of you panelists today, because one thing that we all have in common is capacity building, empowerment, getting the youth more involved, getting minorities or marginalized groups more involved, and basically expanding the sector, open it up. My question is what your organizations, also you as individuals, are doing for capacity building endeavors, and how do you see the future of capacity building? And if you could share your thoughts on that, I would really appreciate it. Davide, if you want to start.
Definitely, that's like a great question. We start from my side. So in terms of capacity building, it depends, of course, on the opportunities that also from our side we are providing to the youth to improve their leadership opportunities, the professional development opportunities, especially, you know, in this current situation that we are all living right now. So definitely in support again of the SDGs, I would say that opportunities that we need to give to the youth for capacity building are quite different, starting from the networking opportunities. For example, this is also what SGC is doing now. So giving them the opportunity through different activities to expand their network, because networking is really the key for their professional development opportunities. And of course, starting from the network, then they can expand their future careers. So I would say that these are one of the opportunities that, of course, SJC is still providing at the moment within our activities that we do, especially online, and also opportunities for professional development linked to putting in contact our members, for example, with experts and do activities like challenges, competitions, or webinars. We know that right now we are talking about lots of different webinars. This is also what we are doing right now all together. And this is also an opportunity to improve their leadership because thanks to this opportunity, they can connect with all the experts and make sure that they can expand their future career. So this is what I would say from my side, Marushka.
Thank you. Niklas, if you would like to continue, I know that you're doing a lot in this regard.
Yeah, sure. I would just like to first follow up on what David said, because I served in the SJC for 4 years as regional coordinator. I do benefit a lot from such organization. However, to build the capacity for the young generation, I think there are more to consider. First is inspiration. We can take account to see what happened in the US. Right now we have Elon Musk, we have Jeff Bezos. Those guys who are now billionaires would like to invest their own money into space activities because they were inspired when the Apollo landed on the moon. And this is something we try to imitate in China here as well. So ComSat on one side is building our own satellite constellation to provide internet connectivity. On the other side, we brought that technology down to the earth and bring them to schools to allow students when they're at an early age to learn those things. You don't have to wait for to pursue education at a university to learn that. You can start from secondary or primary school now. So this is something we inspire them first, then we provide enough resources to support them to pursue such dreams. That's how we would pursue the capacity building here in China with the ComSat's methodology.
Thank you so much. Jose, I'm sure you have something to add up to this.
Yeah, sure. So capacity building, I guess we have to tackle it from all fronts, from all angles. We certainly have to get the youth involved in aviation now more than ever. And I believe that the pandemic provides a perfect, sets the stage for a very good reset for the aviation industry. It provides great opportunity to get more people involved into the aviation industry. Not only that, but also with a clear philosophy of sustainable aviation. Yeah.
Thank you. Hamda, I'm looking forward to your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. So when it comes to human capacity building, I would say that the UAE Space Agency is dedicated towards this goal. And we have seen a lot of national developments in the UAE space sector that brought an inspiration value to the youth and encouraged them to pursue STEM education, like the Emirates Mars mission and the UAE's astronaut program. So in addition to that, we also provide scholarship and sponsorship opportunities for the students to study space science related in universities in terms of bachelor's degree or master's degree. And in addition to that, we had a lot of research centers that are dedicated to space science, and examples for that is the National Space Science and Technology Center that is part of UAE University in Al Ain. We also had a Sharjah Astronomy Center, as well as New York University Abu Dhabi Space Center, which all are driving towards quality education and basically empowering the youth and encourage them towards STEM education. So it's a very important component that we focus in the space agency. We encourage them to take part in our R&D projects and in all of our initiatives that is toward space science and technology.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this. I would like to thank all of you for the participation today. Your inputs are extremely valuable, and I'm sure that we all can benefit from your suggestions and everything you said, as industries, governments, and NGOs, also as individuals. At this point, I would really like to invite you all to share your final thoughts with us in 2-3 sentences to sum up how you see the next generation, empowerment, and SDGs. Jose, if you would start, please.
Yeah, sure. So just to build up on what I said earlier, the aviation industry was suffering from a shortage of labor, skilled labor, has been suffering from this shortage. And as I said, this is a great time for all young individuals that want to go into undergrad and get involved into aviation industry. We really need you.
Thank you. Hamda?
I would say that I'm very proud to work at the UAE space sector, as it's strongly correlated and contributing to sustainability and achieving a number of sustainable development goals. And I would say that it's our responsibility as young professionals nowadays to basically encourage the youth towards contributing towards STEM education, and to pave the way for them and facilitate to them towards contributing to sustainability.
Thank you. Nicholas?
Yep, I would like to borrow the vision of ComSat to end with my remark, is space access for everyone. So today I learned a lot from the panelists, also from the partners, the organizations that we've been working with. I think we need to break the barriers between countries, between organizations, or even age limits to pool the resources together and to work together to allow space access to actually benefit everyone on the Earth. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Davide, final thoughts?
Yes, definitely my final thought is that I really got lots of inspiration from this panel and really gives me really the final thought on how, of course, it's our responsibility to make sure that we can encourage the youth in advancing the Sustainable Development Goals. But I will say also for the next generation that is listening to us right now, that also this also should come from you as next generation to spread your voice and really do not be shy, because the doors are open and we can open, we can support you in, inspiring your vision. For example, as I mentioned, the aviation sector at the moment, the doors are open. In the space field as well, the doors are open. So it's also coming from you as space generation, to spread your voice and, do not be shy and don't give up, and really express your thoughts on the Sustainable Development Goals and how you can support them.
Thank you so much for this. I'm sure I speak in the name of all of us today on this panel when I say that we're all accessible. We're all very happy to talk to youth and to the next generation. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to use the option in this panel, and also to reach to us and our organizations, and we will try to answer your questions and be involved with you. There's a number of opportunities for young people, and SGAC is definitely one example where you can become more involved in so many different ways, from working groups to their own national points of contact. World Space Week Association is also very happy to report that a lot of young people are working with us and organizing events for the 10th of October every year, which opened many doors for many individuals. We know that UAE Space Agency is supporting youth and providing a lot of opportunities for them. And I know that we can all really contribute to these efforts, and we can also benefit from them. So really do not hesitate to get in touch with us, and we will do our best to help out. Because of the time restraints that unfortunately we have, and even though we could probably talk about youth empowerment and SDGs and capacity building for days, I would like to thank the organizers for putting this panel together It was an absolute pleasure to working with all of you and to learn so much from you. Even as a young professional, I have to say that every time I participate in something like this, I benefit greatly from all the inputs that different organizations and also individuals from different parts of the world are putting together. This is definitely something where we can all learn from one another. And I'm looking forward to more collaborations like this and finding ways to build a more sustainable world together. And that being said, thank you again, panelists, Hamda, Davide, Nicolas, and Jose. It was an absolute pleasure to work with you on this. And thank you to the organizers for putting it together. Have a nice rest of the day, and I hope you will enjoy the rest of the panels in this global summit. Thank you so much.